Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. In the last part we ventured our way past Falarbur Town getting onto Route 114 and beyond, and now we're in Meteor Falls tracking down Team Aqua. Oh hey, we found them, that was easy. Give it up you bozos, let the professor go! Huh. What's this? Who's this spoiled brat? Kyle, you came! We've got to see Professor Cosmo from these people. There are two of them, and two of us. Kyle, please, battle together with me. I mean, I feel like we don't really have a choice. Thanks, Emil. Ah. So even I, Team Aqua admin Shelly, have been made a fool. Fine. Brats who don't know how to watch their mouths must be punished. I won't forgive you if you cower in fear either. This will be my first time battling beside you, Kyle. I've got to do my best. Time for one of the few quote-unquote boss fights in the game we actively fight in the doubles context. When this happens, both trainers on both sides throw one Pokemon out each. So while we throw out, say, Dove, May is going to throw out one of her Pokemon, specific, her Shroomish. As for what we got here, we got Aqua Admin Shelly and just the standard Team Aqua Grunt. The Team Aqua Grunt only has one Pokemon, namely the Grimer here, stands for its ability Disable, Sludge, Mud Bomb, and Minimize. Meanwhile, Shelly starts off with her Mightyena. Quake Feet for its ability Odor Sleuth, Roar, Snarl, and Swagger. Thinking about it, these are technically called multi-battles, and there is a distinct difference between that and doubles. Notably, in doubles, it's two trainers throwing out two Pokemon each. In this, it's four trainers each throwing out one. And that even sticks out down to when one particular opponent runs out of Pokemon. In the case, say this Team Aqua Grunt loses their Grimer, Shelly will not throw out her second Pokemon until the Mightyena is defeated. So in a lot of instances, this can lead to battles where either it's you 2v1ing the opponent, or in the very rare case, the opponent 2v1ing you in the campaign. Not many cases where I'd say that really is a real risk, though. As at least in the main campaign, even if you have four Pokemon, you're going to be largely at a numerical advantage in multi-battles. As on average, multi-battles will have two Pokemon per trainer on the opponent's side at most. Whereas here in the campaign, your multi's buddy might have two Pokemon, but you'll have upwards of 6, so 8 to 2. Even just forcing your face headfirst and taking as much damage as you can, you're probably going to win that no matter what. When it comes to single player, at least, the only combat type that I think is easier than multi-battles is singles. And that's because, especially on just the campaign metric, you can really just force your face in with Unga Bunga damage and do largely pretty well. Although not for nothing, having now finished both the Scarlet Violet DLCs as well as the Sword and Shield DLCs finally. Not for nothing, Indigo Disc rather, throws some stuff at you that surprised me. In that regard, honestly, it was kind of interesting, going backwards like that, because while Scarlet and Violet definitely have their weaknesses, they're just such more interesting games to play than Sword and Shield in retrospect, and this is coming from someone who liked Sword and Shield when it was new. Not my least favorite Pokemon generation still, but it's looking down there even more and more as time goes on. After her Mightyena, Shelly throws out her Carvanha. Rough Skin for its ability, of course, Aqua Jet, Assurance, Screech, and Swagger. In most cases, while it might do some decent damage against some fire types or anything that's weak to dark, if you can get the damage in quickly, since it's having to choose between two targets no matter what here in most cases, you're gonna do just fine. Helping things, though, from my memory, is that you're largely gonna be a higher level here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire than you were in the original Gen 3. Oh, are you telling me you're that strong and still just a kid? Did I go too easy on you? We did it, Kyle! If the tremendous energy of Mount Chimney and the meteorite are combined, we of Team Aqua can take a giant step toward the world we dream of. We won't let ignorant little brats get in our way. Do these mere children give you so much trouble? You, an admin of Team Aqua. Who's there? Even Team Magma showed their faces, huh? there's nothing to be done about it. Hey, grab that meteorite. Aye, aye. Whoa! Come on, hand over the meteorite. Professor! Later days, brats and Team Magma. All right, time to rush to Mount Chimney. Maxie, we must give chase to Team Aqua or else... My name is Maxie. I lead an organization known as Team Magma. We work for the future happiness of all mankind. From what I have seen here, it appears that you are working against our rivals in Team Aqua. Fine. Amuse yourself with those Team Aqua fools. But be careful you do not impede our goals. Be you child or grown, oppose us in the slightest, and I, the great Maxie, will show no mercy. Oh, bother. I have no idea what's going on anymore with all these people. Never mind those nuts. Professor, are you doing okay? But I only... Looks like he's still pretty out of it. Kyle... Never mind what's happened. I've got to get the professor back to his lab in full arbor. Okay, Professor. Easy now. Worth noting, us actively leaving with the professor is something they added into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. In Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, you actively just watch the professor leave and they can carry on your merry way throughout the area. Sort of. More on that in a few moments. Ah, Professor! Thank the stars above. Professor, you're back. Ah, ha, ha. Thanks to these children, I have somehow returned. Those nuts back there. What do you think they're hoping to do with the professor's meteorite? From the look of them, they kind of seem like bad guys, but we've both got to be careful. Though I'm not worried a bit if it's you and your team, Kyle. But I need to thank you as well. You truly saved me from disaster. I hope you'll take this TM as some small form of repayment. And here we get Smackdown. This is a move that can be pretty good if used strategically. I'll get more into that after the cutscene, though. Wow, thanks, Professor. Well, what are you gonna do next, Kyle? I'm thinking of checking out the next gym on my list. It's the one in Mauville City. Why don't you come with me, Kyle, to Mauville? Now, you can take this, and I will eventually showcase this just to get the dialogue from it, but for right now, I'm actually gonna ignore this so I can move past Meteor Falls and showcase things beyond it really quickly. Alright, well, tell me if you change your mind. Mauville's right in the middle of Hoenn, so you can go to all sorts of places from it. Even Mount Chimney, the place those guys were talking about at Meteor Falls, in fact. It's just a short trip from Mauville. Yeah, though, these fast travel points, they added a couple of them across the game, and they're mostly optional. I think there's maybe one or two that are forced upon you. I don't mind them myself because I do think they help the game's pacing overall, but I can see why people wouldn't like them. Thankfully, again, most of them are optional. Largely in the original Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, in the points where they give you those options, either you're far enough away from your objective that it's kind of annoying, albeit a certain HM later on makes that kind of non-trivial by the end game, or the hinting to where you had to go next was sparse enough where it was very easy to get lost. That, I think, is the bigger issue there in the original games from my memory, because I do remember just getting lost a lot as a kid. But also, I was a kid, so I was probably just dumb and missing stuff. I imagine if I played Emerald through for the first time as an adult, I wouldn't get lost that easily. Either way, first new Pokemon for the parts is Lunatone. I think only findable here in the Meteor Falls in Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire. This is a rock psychic type with Levitate for its only ability, so it's weak to bug, ghost, steel, water, grass, and dark, but immune to ground. It's alright. It's got some okay special attack from my memory. It's got okay special defense, but I don't remember the rest of its stats being anything super standout. Its moveset's okay. If you're looking for a psychic type, you could probably do worse. I just remember liking a lot of the other psychic types more. Same with its equivalent over in Ruby, which we'll be seeing later on in the LP. With that said, now welcome to Route 115. But I say welcome, we've been here before. We are now on the route directly north of Rustboro again, coming from the north. So now we can actually explore around here mostly and get some items, as well as fight some Pokemon trainers. The intended route in the game in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald was for you to leave Meteor Falls, head back to Rustboro, and then use the Rust Turf Tunnel to get back to Mauville. so you can then head up to our next active area that we need to get to Mount Chimney to access. This slight smoothing out with that shortcut is appreciated, but the routing isn't the worst in the original game, though I think when I usually play Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, I actually ignore the Rust Turf Tunnel, and I instead go back through Mr. Briny to get back to Slateport, because that's not that much longer of a trip, honestly. I've talked about before that I generally prefer the setup of regions from Gen 5 beyond, where it's a little more of a linear route through with more notable set pieces. But if there's something I will give Gen 3 and its looping, you're usually looping only through one place early on. You go north through Mauville, you loop back around either direction, head back to Mauville, head back north to head the next direction, and from there we're once again going to be heading towards Mauville, but then after that it's a pretty linear route. Compare that to Kanto and Johto, and the level curve here is a lot more standard, where in those two regions you were going up, down, and all around depending on which optional route you wanted to go on, which I know some people appreciated. I really didn't like how they handled it there. In my memory, I remember Sinnoh being a bit rough with that too, but I also haven't played Sinnoh through in a long time, as I've talked about before, so I don't quite remember for a fact. Either way, next new Pokemon is Zangoose, pure normal type, so it is weak to fighting, immune to ghost. Zangoose has a really good physical attack stat and is decently fast as well, and it has a pretty good learn set on the whole. With that said, because it doesn't evolve, it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of long-term usability. But if you find one, especially back before Meteor Falls, you can do a lot worse for a physical attacker. Ability-wise, Zangoose has immunity by default, and it didn't have anything else until Gen 5. Immunity makes it immune to the poison status, but its much more interesting ability is its hidden ability, which is Toxic Boost. Toxic Boost boosts the power of any physical moves it has by some amount if it's poisoned, which is incredibly useful in a lot of instances. But also during that, Dove hit level 30, so now it's time for our first final stage Pokemon. At level 30, assuming you didn't use a Dawnstone on a male Kirlia prior to this, Kirlia evolves into Gardevoir. Gardevoir is a Psychic Fairy type as of Gen 6, meaning it is weak to Poison, Ghost, and Steel, immune to Dragon. Gardevoir is an incredible special attacker and defender, and doesn't have the worst speed in the world either. Its physical stats aren't great, but you're not using it for that. If you wanted a physically minded Ralts evolution, you would go for the one they added in Gen 4 there, you use the Dawnstone on male Kirlia. For my purposes, I love using a Gardevoir. They're so useful. Also, along the way back towards where we need to be, I went through Rust Turf Tunnel. I decided I might as well try and catch a Whismur. Not that I'm going to use it, but just because, you know, it's cute. Why not? But notably not, why not? That's a different thing that we'll be talking about later. I might as well also go over what the other end of the Ralts line is in the briefest way without even talking about its name, because we will be seeing one later on for a fact, just to kind of talk about it as an option in case you caught a Ralt yourself while watching this, or if you're playing along in some form. Whismur, the Whisper Pokemon. Whismur is very timid. If it starts to cry loudly, it becomes startled by its own crying and cries even harder. When it finally stops crying, the Pokemon goes to sleep, all tired out. Damn, if I don't know that mood. But yeah, if you use a Dawnstone on a male Kirlia, you get a Psychic Fighting type with a nuts physical attack stat. It's also got some good special defense and speed. I just prefer Gardevoir for this playthrough in specific. I kind of flip-flop between using one or the other in the case I decide to actually use a Ralts line if they're available in the game in question. Like, I'll just even talk about it in that regard. My first playthrough of Alpha Sapphire, I remember my team distinctly. It was a Blaziken, the other end of the Ralts line, the final evolution of Lotad, a Dark type we'll see later on, the evolution of Swablu, and Slacking. Half my team in this playthrough is pretty similar to that, as you can tell. So our next thing we want to do on our way back to Mauville is I actively want to hit up the Trick House again. The puzzle this time around is a Rock Smash puzzle. With trainers, you can fight along the way, but you don't need to. I think there's at least one Pokemon that we're going to see for the first time here. But I think this is the easiest set of trainers to avoid in any of the Trick Houses, should the Trick House rooms actively have trainers at all. Because I think there's at least 2 that don't here in Alpha Sapphire. The item in question for this specific Trick House is a Rage Candy Bar. Like its purpose back in Gen 2, it's just a potion, effectively, that had a different price tag. Gen 7 onwards actively changed its purpose to be a lot more useful, because if memory serves, it was a cheaper version of a full heal item, which heals all status ailments. But here in Gen 6, not that useful. Probably the main way you'll see me use one in a later LP is whenever I reach Gen 5 because of the funny thing you can do with them in a very specific area in black and white, but I'll save that for that LP. And if I go at the current rate I'm going, I'm going to make an actual estimate here. It's been about 2 years since I did Soul Silver, maybe closer to 3. But I did Ranger and all that, so I do roughly a Pokemon game every year in some form. If I continue that pattern, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years until black and white, probably. We'll find out, I suppose. By the way, time for our next new Pokemon, Pokemon Ranger, funnily enough. Sebastian here is going to throw out a Cacnea, one of my friend's favorite Pokemon, actually. This is a pure grass type, so inherently it's weak to flying, poison, bug, fire, and ice. But for a starting Pokemon, starting state Pokemon rather, it's got some pretty good attack stats, and I remember its learn set as it evolves being pretty good. The issue is when it evolves, it gains a subtype that, while it gives it an immunity, gives it so many more weaknesses that it's one of those I just don't like to use inherently. Ability-wise, it can have Sand Veil or Water Absorb when it got its hidden ability, I believe. Sand Veil, when there is a sandstorm weather effect ongoing, it boosts its evasion tremendously. Water Absorb, if it gets hit with a water type attack, that just immediately gets converted into extra HP for it, I think by some formula I don't know off the top of my head. If you're willing to take some risks with defenses, you could do a lot worse for a mixed attacker. But the way I tend to play Pokemon is I like to have Pokemon that have at least one stat over 100, which that evolution does, but also tend to have fewer weaknesses if they exist. So the Cacnea line, not one I tend to consider. Although thinking about it in a modern context with Terra types being around, I forget if Cacnea's in Gen 9 or its DLC. That's what I should consider using next time I actively revisit that game in however many years. I do have a copy of Violet that doesn't have a save file because I got the dual pack for Gen 9, so maybe I should think about doing that. Only issue is I'd have to buy the DLC again, which... that might be worth it for future me, but not for current me. That's a later deal. Either way, with that all out of the way, we're now done with this specific area in the Trick House, so let's finish it up, get our reward, and move on. Hello again, Trick Master. Ah, you've made it this far. Huh, you're sharp. Took me all night to shove in those boulders. You're almost my equal in greatness by 1, 2, 3 places. Great, you've earned this reward. And here we get a hard stone. I forget if we talked about that item, because I think we found one in a Rock Smash Rock earlier, but I might be thinking of a different item. It's been a couple up since I recorded the last few episodes, I gotta admit. That boosts Rock type power by, I think, about 20 to 25%. So our next objective is actually to head back to Full Arbor, because I want to actively get the dialogue from talking to May to take us back to Mauville. But along the way, the same Rock Smash Rocks gave me another item. We got a Max Revive here. I have gotten absurdly good luck with that across this LP. I usually don't see 2 of those across a playthrough. Why don't you come with me, Kyle, to Mauville? Right on, let's hit the road. We've arrived in Mauville City. Up ahead here's Mount Chimney, huh? That's the place those nutjobs in Meteor Falls were talking about going to. Be careful, Kyle. It might get dangerous around here. I hear you there. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't I just go over to Mount Chimney? Considering I was already over in the location anyway that leads to there. Dialogue. Just to show off that 1 or 2 lines. Which might be what makes me decide or not to actively do the other things in the Mauville food court now that I think about it, because I did just do that, huh? Oh well, thoughts for future near end of LP me too, and I have to record more footage, I suppose. For right now, though, we can actually now buy lemonades at this specific vending machine, which are really important usually. They're, for their price, a more effective healing item than the next nearest potion. But I say usually because the ones in this specific location are actually more expensive than ones you can find later on for much less. So if you're going to stock up on them, wait until way later in the game. For right now, it's time for us to climb up to the top of Mount Chimney. I couldn't even quite tell you why, but I've always just really liked the specific jingle they play in that cutscene, either here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire or in the original Gen 3. It's just a song that's always kind of stuck with me. But speaking of songs that have always stuck with me, welcome to the highest point in the Hoenn region that we've been circling around for several videos now, Mount Chimney. I love the song at the top here. I think this plays in a couple of other routes in the game or other locations. This is one of the songs that's always just stuck with me from Hoenn in general. I couldn't tell you why, it just has. All right, drench them. If they expand the sea, there'll be fewer habitats for Pokemon and people. Okay, I guess I'm not going that way. Even though they're just cute little cowardly puppies, but oh well. Worth noting, walking between any of the Team Aqua Magma Grunts actively fighting at this point does that exact same thing. What's really annoying about that specifically is that there's a hidden item off to the far right behind these two grunts, which I have missed more times than I'd like to admit because I just forget to come back here after I'm blocked off by these two right now. I don't know why, that's just always bothered me in a very specific way. Ugh, impudent fools. You Team Aqua curs dare to impede the great Maxie. Having trouble there, Maxie? Impudent little imbeciles. Worth noting the same setups in the original Gen 3 and the opposite team leaders fighting 3 of the grunts of the opposite team. What's funny is this is actually not technically a possible battle type because they added triple battles in Gen 5, which we'll talk about later on in the LP. We at Team Aqua working hard for everyone's sake. Like if there's more water around, water Pokemon will be happy and it'll give people more fun places to swim. I feel like you're kind of not factoring in a whole bunch of things there, buddy, but I feel like that's kind of the point that you probably aren't even thinking about that. We do have some pretty standard fights here against some Team Aqua grunts, but you're used to the Pokemon they have by this point, probably. You're gonna see a lot of the same types. Hello again, Shelly. What are you doing here? Did you follow us all the way here from Meteor Falls? Huh, well hey, good job, kid. Okay, I admit it. You are quite the trainer, and to Archie, me, and all of Team Aqua, your existence is annoying. The world Archie dreams of would be a utopia for Pokémon. I can't let you get in the way of someone who's pushing on toward a perfect world. Prepare yourself. This will finally be the time that I leave that cute face of yours swollen and crying. Round 2 against Shelly already. This time around, she's lacking the Team Aqua Grunt alongside her, so she's only going to have her Grimer and her Carvanha. With that said, while their levels have been boosted slightly, their movesets are entirely the same. The Grimer's going to have Disable, Sludge, Mud Bomb, and Minimize Stench for its ability, and the Carvanha's going to have Rough Skin for its ability, Aqua Jet, Assurance, Screech, and Swagger. The only difference is that while both of them were level 23 at the start of the part, they are now level 24. I think that's probably one of the fastest times where they throw the same team admin at you that many times in a row in the series that I can really think of off the top of my head, really. Of course, it's been a little bit since I played some of the other games, so who knows, I'm probably wrong about that. As I've probably already said prior in this LP as well as the other Pokemon LPs, Pokemon is a series I love. I don't revisit it that often. It's maybe one game every 2 or 3 years, barring a new release or spin-off I'm kind of interested in. Largely, if there's an RPG series I revisit, it's either Star Force or Battle Network, certain Final Fantasies, probably Trails moving forward in my life, same with Ease, really. What was that? Are you telling me you've upped your game even more since last time? You're a brat with a bright future. My Pokemon and I don't have any strength left to fight. Go on. Go and be destroyed by Archie. Sure thing. You know, it's only just dawning on me that the first 2 places you meet the Version du Jour's team leads are the Marine Museum and a volcano full of magma. In fact, Emerald plays into that a little more accurately because it's where I think you first meet either version's team lead. The great swell of power that sleeps deep in the magma. And it's the key to controlling the super ancient Pokemon's power. Ah! You! No. Oh. Now I know how I know you. You're the little scamp that got in our way in Slayport's museum. If you made it here to me, you must have swept right past Shelly, huh? I figured you were a big deal the first time I laid eyes on you, but whoa. Well, since you are the real deal, I suppose I could let you in on just what's going on. See, this meteorite that I just got from good old Professor High and Mighty back there. With the right bit of work, it seems we could turn it into a real nice, valuable bit. Like maybe a Megastone.
Or maybe even a keystone. And as long as we're here at Mount Chimney. Oh! Look what I nearly went and did. If I give away all my secrets, all the thrill will be gone from our relationship. I think I'll just leave you hanging here. Well, it's not the details that matter any old how. We got a thing we gotta do, you see. From our point of view, Scamp, you're a dirty villain who's gotten in our way one time too many. I'm still the leader of Team Aqua, so I'm afraid it's the rope's end for you and your Pokémon. Now come!
I love the remix this song got here in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. It's just the right level of intimidating, despite either team lead not being the hardest fight. They both start off with a Mightyena. Both have Roar, Snarl, Swagger, and Assurance for their attacks, but their abilities are notably different. Maxie's Mightyena has Intimidate, meanwhile Archie's here has Quick Feet, so if there's a status ailment on it, its speed does get boosted. From there, they both send out a Golbat, which evolves from Zubat at level 22, Poison Flying type, so it's weak to Rock, Electric, Psychic, and Ice, immune to Ground. Golbat's got some good speed, and the rest of its stats aren't awful, but they could be better, and that's why the evolution it got in Gen 2 is so good, but we'll talk about that should we ever see one. With that said, the Golbat that Archie and Maxie both have is exactly the same. Inner Focus for both their abilities, so it can't flinch. Wing Attack, Confuse Ray, Air Cutter, and Swift. Even its level's the same. I wouldn't be surprised if it's literally the same Pokemon data, just copy-pasted, so even like its IVs, should it have any, are actively the same. A good Electro-type attack or anything like that, and you're in pretty good shape. It's really their ace that's completely different, because obviously Aqua and Magma are going to have radically different focuses. I'm not going to talk about the Pokemon itself, because we'll see one later on in the LP, but if you're going up against Maxie here, the Pokemon you're going to be going up against is Fire and Ground type, so you're going to want either Ground or Water type attacks, especially Water type attacks, to take it down quickly. Over here in Alpha Sapphire, though, we're going to be going up against Archie's ace, which is Sharpedo. Once I get past the Focus Energy prompt here. Sharpedo evolves from Carvana at level 30. Water, Dark type, so it's weak to Fighting Bug, Grass, Electric, and Fairy, but immune to Psychic. That's a couple of weaknesses, but it's worth it because Sharpedo has a nuts physical attack stat, really good special attack and speed, and while its defenses and HP aren't exactly great, if you're doing the hits fast enough, it's not going to matter. This is a case where I like the amount of weaknesses it has for the stats it actively has. Archie's specific Sharpedo has Rough Skin for its ability, Assurance, Screech, Swagger, and Ice Fang. The Ice Fang can be an issue in some cases, but you'll probably have enough to take it down at this point. I remember these fights being pretty hard when I was a kid in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, but that was probably just my horrific leveling tendencies really coming into play at that point. So, eh.
Oh, you went and did it, didn't you?
But notably during that fight, Blaze hit level 36, and I think I already said this Pokemon's name already, but that means it's now time to evolve into its final phase, Blaziken. Firefighting type still, so weak to Flying, Ground, Water, and Psychic. Blaziken is technically a mixed attacker, but it does skew more towards physical, and given its lore set, you should probably lean more into that anyway if you're doing any kind of EV trading with it. But it's a really good firefighting type. I'd say the only one of the other firefighting type starters that really gets as good as this is the one from Gen 4, and that's because, especially having just happened at the physical special split, its moveset is really tailored around that. We also learn Blaze Kick upon evolution, which is not the strongest fire type move, and it's a 90 accuracy. But not only can it burn targets, it also has a higher crit hit ratio, so it's pretty worth having around, especially if you like using dire hits on your Pokemon in battle.
Oh, you little scamp. I knew you were the real deal. Brilliant. Then my team won't hold back this time. Oh, Mega Evolution, how I've missed you. It's been ages since we got to let loose. Ugh. Scamp, I'm gonna have to ask you to hold that thought. I gotta use my timeout. Huh? That you, Matt? You have the worst timing. What? Oh! So Mount Pyre's the real. Huh, got it. Guess that orb's not just some fairy tale after all. Alright, I'm on my way. Sorry, Scamp. When you're a grown-up, you see, sometimes things crop up. Gotta put our battle on hold till next time. Take this. Should help you keep busy till we settle the score. Have fun with it, eh?
Well, getting that back didn't take that long at all, huh?
Let's meet again somewhere. I'll be sure to remember that face.
I've seen you before, child. It seems you are not to be trifled with if you repelled Archie in battle. What is that fool up to now? He abandoned the meteorite that he sought so persistently. No! Could it be possible that he has confirmed the existence of the orbs at last? Again I find myself outmaneuvered. What a terrible miscalculation. Well, I guess we gotta get to Mount Pyre at some point if we want to further stop whatever's going on there. Before we move on, though, if you're paying attention to that cutscene, you may have noticed there's a TM over here to the top left that I could have grabbed first. I forgot to, and it contains Incinerate. Incinerate's a bit of an interesting ability. It's not actively that strong, but what it does is that it targets all other Pokemon in the battle, and it can destroy their held items if there's certain ones like berries or gems or a couple of other ones. So in some cases, that can be used very tactically to prevent certain things from going wrong in especially doubles. But in singles, it's not the best, and since it's so low power, you're probably not going to end up using it casually during a campaign or the like. But still worth grabbing in the case you want certain setups going. And I at least remember to also get the protein that's hidden up here that I will probably never use, so it'll be hoarded in my inventory for the good of all items. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 12, now that we're done here at the top of Mount Chimney, we're going to climb down the side of it and find ourselves finally in our next gym. See you guys then.